catching me, they gon' need a bigger boat. Ironic how the world stops when I spin a globe. Always showing up. Last year's song still holding up. See the name now and they know.
Welcome back to the YouTube channel. So this is my first vlog in a little over a year. Today I'm going to take you through a few bits and pieces around like what I'm doing before I train, a few different supplementation bits and pieces, a little bit of an insight of my current cut, and as well as run you through the leg day of a men's physique competitor, as I have decided to transition from classic physique into men's physique a little over 6 months ago, something which I'm working towards in the future. So I will give you the heads up, the leg day is not overly exciting, it is not high volume, and we'll touch more on that later, but should give you an insight in regards to how I train and how I'm training within the requirements of the men's physique category. Look forward to taking you on the journey today. So we get the pre-workout. I use non-stim pre-workouts. The reason I use a non-stim pre-workout is because I am quite sensitive to caffeine. And not only that, I am currently utilizing lipolytics in the context of the deficit phase, which means that sometimes we can see the HR rise a little bit too far, a little bit of anxiety induced, so on and so forth. But in fairness, I haven't used stimulant-based pre's in years. I feel it's actually more of a disadvantage when I go into training when I do utilize such. So this is simply a pump matrix. And then I will pair that with my creatine and taurine, which I actually pop up here. I used to always forget when they were in the bags. I thought if you pop them in clear sight and you don't have to dig into it. So obviously creatine, I don't think that needs an explanation. Taurine, just because we do see the depletion with the lipolytic use, which can increase the risk of cardiac events. Sounds quite extreme when you say it like that and kind of scary. I do like the strong products to basically sip malate, a bit of glycodextrin, glycerol. So generally I'll just sip on that on the way to the gym. It's 11 o'clock, 11:40 right now. I don't typically train at this time. I generally wait till around mid-afternoon. But my pre-workout meal today was just oats, a little bit of salt, so on and so forth. So like what, bananas, almond butter, nothing crazy. But generally with my meal timing, I don't have my first meal till around 11 o'clock. This is a preference because I work my best while I am fasted, caffeinated, saffron, L-theanine, a couple of supplements which I take. And I find that this 3-hour work block in the morning is the most efficacious. So then I'd usually break that with a no carb meal, but I have decided to go with a carb meal solely on account of the fact that I am training. And then by doing this in the context of a deficit, I find it becomes very, very easy to manage appetite. Like I am, 11 kilos down, 12 kilos down in the space of about 9 weeks. And to be fair, hunger signaling outside of the odd day is completely settled. I do enjoy eating later at night as well, which I find gives me a little bit of a satisfaction, sense of relief, dopamine, so on and so forth. So allocating a meal to here, which again is usually a cream of rice or an oats, gives me like a sense of fulfillment for the day, as weird as that may sound. So yeah, 4 meals per day. Calories currently what? I've got on the whiteboard 25, 65. Then I did say I was going to cover all my supplements. Bit of a complex of antioxidants between resveratrol, quercetin. Then we got the NMN, we got the taurine, creatine, we got the supplement needs health stack, so liver, kidney, heart, B complex, multi, before bed, lithium orotate, 5-hydroxytryptophan, melatonin, agmatine sulfate. So sounds like a lot, all for a purpose.
Color price is so good though.
Yeah, this is the first song I heard. I remember when I went to Dubai, Luke Miller posted it on one of his posts, and I was like, fuck, that's a perfect theme song for this trip. I went there at the start of 2023 when I went online, because it was a seminar for bodybuilding with him and Callum. That was when I started the business properly. That would have been when I decided, you know what, I'm doubling down. I'm a coach, but also I need to focus on the business side of it too, because obviously a well-functioning business means you can deliver the service better as well, because you can pick and choose who you work with. Your systems are flowing, your lead flow, I guess, is fluent. Just if you can minimize stress on all those fronts, I personally believe you can coach better. I do work a lot, but it's getting better, especially now with Jude. He's been good. Never expected that to happen. So Izzy would always say, I want to hire Jude, I want to hire Jude. He's really interested. I'd say, Izzy, everyone's interested, and I don't want to ruin our relationship because I can be a bit of a cunt in terms of to work for. We had heaps of leads we needed to contact and do, and we said to him, I can give you a 2-month contract where you can just do all our sales and stuff like that. And then while he was doing that, he kept saying, I really want to coach, really want to coach, really want to coach. So I just kept feeding him courses and stuff like that too. And obviously he was qualified as well. And then Izzy said, let's get him to do a couple of his friends to coach for free and we'll just order the work. He did that, and the friends that he was coaching really happy, the work looked really good. So then we were in need of a coach, gave him a couple of clients, and that seemed like it worked really well. Because my biggest concern was not his ability to coach, because I knew that if that wasn't up to scratch, I knew I could teach him that. But it was more just that intensity to want to work and succeed. And then soon I started to realize how badly he wanted it and how much he would work for the business. We just took the punt and it all worked out. He's great. I don't think he's not going anywhere anytime soon. Hopefully not anyway. Coffee pit stop.
It's the morning routine.
The morning routine. Every morning I do like the walk for coffee. I feel like it's like the one thing that gets me out of bed in the mornings. I wake up and I think, all right, cool, I'm going to get my triple shot long black. We have arrived. Parked a little bit further away to get some more steps. Currently doing 12,000 per day. I try to do whatever I can at any time to accrue those steps over the course of the day. So technically speaking, like if I'm doing 4,000 in the morning, always walk in the morning for the coffee. 8,000 left for the day. I'll pace around during my training sessions, especially between rest pause sets. Walk a little bit further to the gym from the car. Walking pad occasionally, and then realistically, you're left with like what 2,000-3,000 to hit before bed, which is just another evening walk. So when people say they can't really get their steps, it's just about segregating that into the day. I am busy. I'm at the computer 10 hours a day. Still make it work. You probably can too. That's the reality of it. It's a little bit of an insight in regards to how I go about it and something that maybe you can apply as well. So as I said, I'm taking this through a men's physique leg day team this year. We've got like Izzy there, James there, and then Jude somewhere in the back. But yeah, basically my leg day is not really much of a leg day. So I am genetically blessed in the lower body department where the quads do hold. Hamstrings and calves not so much, but who needs them? So the ideology when I commenced with Joe was to allocate more volume towards the upper body and obviously allocate more recoverability towards the upper body. So as a result, we did minimize the volume that we complete on legs. So I'm literally doing 5 working sets per week, and I've been doing this since April. Yes, the legs have lost size, but you probably can't tell in these shorts, so I've got little boy legs. The legs do hold on quite well despite the really low volume setup. So today ultimately becomes a little bit of a delt top up with the leg pairing. Some are going to be a little bit intrigued by the session setup. We'll get more into that as we go on. Leg day never becomes like, it's never my exciting day. It's kind of just a day where it's like get in, get out. What I have noticed as well, actually, I have previously had issues when I've done higher volume, lower body training in getting condition to come through my legs. This time around, it hasn't been as difficult. For anyone wondering as well, I'm trying to get relatively lean through this tidy out. I guess from there we'll work out what we want to do, but it may look like we probably will build on that and then leverage that into some kind of prep, collect some data and see how things do come in, don't come in, etc. So I think right now what we're noticing is like the legs are coming a little bit faster. The back has, chest and delts have, but as usual the arms are lacking a little bit just because the arms, I do suffer, like I have a little bit lower muscularity in the arms, and the midsection's always a bitch. That is genetic. The James midsection's also a bitch. Whether we get there or not is to be seen. The infamous 1MR cuffs, first and foremost. We're starting with single arm lateral raise. This is one working set. Generally I'll compete 2 or 3 warm-up sets, probably just a handful of reps. So the first set here, just to get a little bit more blood flow, 7 or 8 reps. When we say one working set, it's one set at full throttle, but the goal here is we're actually tagging on a 2 times rest pause. So the idea with the 2 times rest pause or rest pause style training is we can accrue equivalent volume to that of doing 3 straight sets in a time restraint. One of the first things I said to Joe when I started with him was I don't have endless time spent in the gym. And he said, well, let's prioritize rest pause training. When he sent the program across, I was like, this is really low volume. And he's like, the data's there, and the data is there. It can be more efficacious than straight sets. It's clearly more time efficient than the straight sets as well. Across the last 6 months, I've made more progress in this style of training. Not that I didn't understand the data initially, but I was obviously skeptical to apply and to really trust that data. But 30-40 minutes a session, sometimes a little bit more if I'm really feeling it or enjoying it, or if I need to take the rest between sets. The reason why I've made the most progress on this setup is not necessarily because rest pause training is more efficacious than the straight sets, but more so because my adherence to my training is absolutely flawless. I never miss an exercise, never miss a session, never miss a progression, and obviously recoverability is very much controlled as well compared to when I was training in a more traditional sense, hour and 15, hour and a half sessions. There were many days where I'd be pumping check-ins, pumping gone boards, pumping business tasks, and the result of that was I would have to cut out exercises. I would choose exercises I enjoyed more. I would choose exercises because I was more neurologically inclined to want to complete dependent on my fatigue at that time. The only thing that I don't necessarily love about doing the double rest pause on something like a lateral raise is the fact that my delts feel like they're going to fucking explode. It's pretty common as well with the lateral raise when you do it with cuffs. Your line of pull can get thrown off just because it is obviously a little bit different to driving through a handle. So one of the things that I do not mind doing is I will still hold the handle this way as well because it is cuffing. You're less inclined to lose control of the load, and also we can isolate a little bit more to the lateral head of the belt. Oh, here we go. And then 20 rest. So I generally walk around during the rest pause.
So as you can tell, Michael is hitting the lateral or the medial deltoid on this movement.
It's 10 seconds. 8, 7, 5. maybe a weight contraction is sort of the same.
I'd just like to present Michael and welcome him to the Brotherhood.
So, Men's Physique Brotherhood.
These ones are for you, bro.
Oh, thank you, bro. That was 9 reps. I was meant to get 10. 5 more seconds. We're going to cable wire raises. It's going to be a similar setup with a double rest pause. The difference here is we're pulling to the rear line rather than pulling straight out or laterally, which means we aren't necessarily isolating, but we are targeting upper back traps and rear delts a little bit more. I got 7 reps of 18.75 last time. Also rep range 10 to 15. Yeah. All right, let's go. You also can't train this style if you're training with people. Well, you can try. Busy gym too, if someone stops you to talk every 5 minutes. I actually hate having training partners. I hate training with people. I just like training solo. I feel like no one really understands that as well. Because you train your own pace, you get in your own head zone, it's a timeout. You can train with your exact intensity, exact rest periods, exact exercise selection. You see the benefit though. It's not like I'm sitting here saying it's crap too. 5. Stop. 1, 2. Leg curl we're using the M Torture. I hadn't used it before last week. Life recommended it. Not huge on the M Torture shit usually, so I was skeptical. I do like the way that the weight kind of tapers very similar to that of the hammer strength as well, so we can get a contraction. We're not feeling like we're being forced back in common movement. Well, when the hamstring's in a shorter position. Got another double rest pause here too, so nothing crazy. And then want to run you guys through hyperextensions. The reason I want to run you through hyperextensions is because I think hyperextension is one of the most underrated movements. Not necessarily underrated. Theoretically, everyone knows it's good, but it's a movement that I get multiple cases of people that I coach saying they feel in their lower back, they don't feel a contraction, they can't load it up well. I think it just comes down to how people do it, and no matter how many times I try to explain it, it's like it's hard to interpret. So we're going to do the hyper rather than going one of the cool machines, just so I can go through that. It's a bit of an easy warm-up. Let's do a second warm-up in succession because that was quite easy and I'm feeling pretty fine. I generally don't need to warm up heaps on the lower unless it's like a squat pattern or press of sorts. Before we go on though, I will say the main reason I actually decided to switch competing in classics to competing in men's physique was on account of lower body training. So anyone who's known me for like maybe 10 years, legs were like my jam. Like that was my strong point. That's what I love doing. I used to just train till I vomited. I remember there was sessions I used to do with a mate who we'd do the session, we'd vomit, and then we'd walk back in the gym and finish the session. But then as I got older, consistency became a problem. I had a whole year off in 2023, basically a whole year TRT, not training consistently, etc. This was on the back of like, I had an umbilical hernia removed, which caused me grief before I got it removed as well. So it was about 2 months before I was really struggling with training legs. Then obviously the 3 months following it was really hard to train legs too. And then at the end of that, I was kind of in a position where I'm like, I don't think I'll compete again. Business was really booming and I wanted to focus on my competitors. But then I kind of realized, wait, there's this men's physique thing I'd never really given a go. And then I coached a few of the boys to compete in men's physique and obviously naturally had to invest more attention and interest in the criteria and the requirements, so on and so forth. And I realized I really enjoyed it. And I never really realized that structurally I did have that structure for it, like really wide at the shoulders, broad clavicles, etc. and like a relatively decent waist. And that's when I thought, let's give it a tilt. And that actually reinvigorated the spark for bodybuilding for me. Otherwise, I don't think I ever would have even considered competing again. But recurrent knee issues made it a problem. I'm going to run you through a few of the machines here anyway. Because if I did have the luxury of choice here, I probably wouldn't have run into those problems. But I remember there was a point, like after hernia surgery, and I'd just gotten back to full load where I couldn't even go down on a hack squat because of the burden of placing the patella. Like I put knee sleeves, I put bands on, and it just felt like arthritic, and like the knee was in bruise. So it wasn't just isolated at the patella too. Now, with this setup of training, things have been a lot smoother. But take you around. The reason I want to take you around is because number one, I think Mike deserves credit here. Number two, because some of the pieces that we've got here for legs, I've not really seen anywhere else within the country. Like what the Atlantis hack squat here, I have never seen this anywhere in the country. Please correct me if there's a place that has it. I'd say there'd be a few boutique gyms that have it, but this would be my preferred pack. Everyone carries on about the Cybex, but the problem that I see with the Cybex is it does put a lot of pressure on the knees, which can, over time, and in individuals who are potentially utilising PEDs, pushing quite heavy load, have a history of issues here, that can be a problem. But then we've got that and the pendulum squat by Atlantis as well, which is awesome. But then a couple of my other favourites here with the Rogers series. We're going to be jumping on that one today. I'd never even known about this machine before I got here. Not driving a heap of CNS fatigue while at the same time really enabling me to push my limits on it and really work the quads, hamstring, glutes to the extent that I needed to. Pro squat here too is fucking awesome. Not a huge fan of the drop squat, but I don't mind the Watson one. And then obviously we have the glute section, but I have no interest in the glute section. I have the world's biggest glutes and I haven't trained a day in my life. Alright, we've got 8 last session, so I'm hoping 10. Rest pause double again. By the way, rest pause sets you can extend up to 30 seconds. You can just make it 5 deep breaths. I just do 20 because I try to keep it consistent. This is now like 25, but in fairness, if I didn't extend it, I reckon I would have got 2. I got 3 anyway. So that's 1 set for hands down. So I've decided I'm gonna keep to that there as my prime movement. This is your hyper. We're just gonna warm up here. Basically, here's the problem with hyper extensions. Look at my back position. See how I pulled back, creating an arch in the lower back? Instead, our core is on, and in this position, my glutes are on too, so my rib cage is depressed. My core isn't on, but it's depressed to a point where if I wanted to flex the core, I can back here. I guess you can still flex the core, but it's not the same. And then it'll be like we have an RDL bar. We want the bar to move parallel to this here. So it'll be down there, that chest stays on. Parallel, so my chest stays down. Parallel. Parallel. And the glutes and hamstrings are on at all times. I'm getting 0 lower back, as opposed to how most people do it. This, I can hardly feel my glutes. So remember, core on, sternum depressed, barbell is parallel to this. And then the glutes and hamstrings engage at the top. So it should be like, get to that top and you thrust through similar, turn the glutes on to how you would in an RDL or in a hip thrust. But anyway, let's get into my actual movement. This is a completely new movement to me, so I just thought I'd give it a go. So I'm just going to count the high percentages as 1 warm-up set, and this is going to be the 2nd warm-up set. You probably want to be looking at 3 or 4 or even 5 warm-ups or something like this, because the lower back will take a little bit of a load. I'm pretty happy with the lower back taking a little bit of a load just for erector development too, which is not necessarily a weak point, but also not an area that I want to neglect. Most of my back work being fixed position, lack of hinging, etc. I don't have anything directly isolated to there, so that's why I found this was nice. This might be tough, by the way.
We're back. We train legs.
This is a YouTube video? Yeah. Oh man, legs, bit of hit cardio at the end. Well, meant to be at the start, but don't tell the coach, didn't do it.
Knees feel good today.
We've gone for 8 reps.
I reckon I'll get 12. I reckon I could probably go a plate heavier, but if I do 2 reps, it feels light. So that's one thing too, when you're doing warm-up sets, the idea is not to be accruing any fatigue until we get to those actual working sets. So for example, if this set was in fact light, I'd do 2-3 reps, get a feel for the weight, improve, I guess, my mental fortitude towards the set. Nah, that's our weight. I'm nervous for this set. Hey! Oh shit. Alright, we're good. I really like it. The only thing is it sort of springs on the like is in. Yeah. All right. I'm getting a bit of a cramp. Nervous. Again. One more. A little bit soft.
What's next?
Leg extension. That's all PBs. So pretty happy. Admittedly, I don't think I've missed PB since like April, which is wild. You also need to consider as well that I went from peak push 5,000 calories to health phase, if you read between the lines, 2,500, and no deterioration of strength. I hear guys complain about losing strength the second that they take things back, whether that be through PEDs, etc. And I genuinely don't think you should be seeing that kind of response in such a short window, if at all. So I would namely rule that down to some kind of placebo. I'm gonna spot Mike. All right, let's do it. 115. Let's go, come on. Let's go. 15, let's go again, come on. Let's go, up. One more. Up. Good, Good. 5 more.
How many sets do you do on this one?
1. We're done.
Oh shit.
The legs, yeah. 5 sets, as intensely as possible. Minimal effective volume for rotation of tissue. Probably over the course of the months this caused some degree of loss just because of the difference in the volume. I probably went from like 20 to 24 sets a week to 5, but has done the job and allows us to allocate more time towards recovery, allocate more times to, well, upper body, allocate more time towards developing a physique which reflects that of the men's physique criteria. Working so far might not be for you. That's how I go about things, and yeah, the proof's in the pudding. One of the things I didn't touch on before, which I think is an important point as well. So one of the other reasons why I decided not to go for classic physique was recognizing the size requirements and the PED requirements which came with that and potential health ramifications at 30 years old. This was not something that I was willing to, I guess, subject myself to over the years, especially acknowledging that in these kind of categories, we are potentially dealing with genetic elites, potentially dealing with individuals who have been consistent for a very long time, and potentially dealing with individuals who do redline and are comfortable redlining, which I'm not. So that was another rationale for the decision, which was a little bit more intricate. I feel like when it comes to PEDs too, a lot of people don't recognize that it is a decision which is going to impact you long term. Even if it doesn't impact you right now, it will impact you at a later time. Whether that be through acute issues, whether that be psychological, whether that be physiological, whether that be the long-term reliance of testosterone replacement therapy, potential impedance of fertility, or just the increased prevalence of health issues later in life, because in my theory and some individuals that I trust theory as well, it won't necessarily cause the onset of health issues, but it will bring forward those health issues in your timeline. So I think it's incredibly important that we acknowledge if you are making this decision, you do want to be taking things seriously, you do want to be monitoring your health, and if you are utilising PEDs and you are taking the piss, you have no business utilising this. The fact that people do this to me is quite baffling, because it would not be in my scope whatsoever at my current age if it wasn't for competitive bodybuilding, and that's just the genuine truth. Well, thanks for having us. Cool, just about a mic. Just finished up with a couple of photos for just some of the reels and previews just coming out across the next couple of days, just making sure that's done as professionally as possible. I try to treat that side of things like it is a large-scale professional business. I try not to take like business principles and things like that. I don't take it to a standard of the typical fitness industry. I try to consider the standard of like corporations which are working well, because obviously if you can hold to that standard, you're presenting at that standard. If we're running at that standard, we can build a reputation of that standard too. So this is a long-term thing which we'll continue to work at anyway. But all wrapped up in there. Legs are cooked. Excited to go back home and chip away at the rest of the day. I think I'll have a few more checks to do. Wednesdays are typically my quieter day, so that's always a little bit more peaceful and a little bit of calm at the moment before next month too. Obviously the next couple of weeks the business does go a bit nuts. We make the most of these quieter days right now, but hopefully you took something from that session. We're on Bridge Road here, driving home, and just for any donut lovers, there is a place coming up on my right. It is called Oakley Donut Co. They are without a doubt the best donuts in the world, and I have chased every possible better donut that I could. If you are looking for a good donut, if you are finishing competing, if you are whatever you're doing, finishing your dieting phase, whatever, right there, Tochco, right there, slowing it down a little bit. Yeah, they have a Galacto and a Nutella snow donut and cookies and cream. The first thing coming out of the cut is like, yep, straight there. And then maybe like a, I'm talking about food too much now. There's a nice little Mexican joint in Flemington called La Tortilleria. I reckon if I had to rule down to like the 3 best restaurants in Melbourne, would have Muka in Fitzroy, which is Indians, butter chicken, strong recommendation. La Tortilleria in Flemington or Kensington, which is like traditional Mexican, so tacos, none of this burrito shit. And Fancy Hanks in the CBD, American barbecue. Do not go there after your dieting phase. Wait till you're well and truly in a maintenance, because that'll blow you the fuck out. But that is unreal. If anyone has any better restaurants than those 3 after you've gone to them, let me know, because I don't believe that they exist, at least in this state. Fuck, I like food, eh? So we're wrapped up completely for the day. Now, like I said before, we'll head in, finish off my work, finish off my check-ins, just hitting the new year nice and strong. Pretty destroyed from that session, despite it being relatively low volume, but you did see the intensity at which I approached it with, which did make it a little bit more worthwhile. But any questions that you have, don't hesitate. Please subscribe. I'll do a few more of these. Obviously, this is something which like Drew, James, and Izzy will take more of the reins on, just due to time availability and whatnot as well. But definitely will see a little bit more of me. And if you have any topics you want me to cover or anything you'd like to learn a little bit more about, like I said, pop it below or let me know and I can pop that in the next video as well. I'll try to make it a little bit more of an interesting session. But thanks for watching.